Come we better man in naughty happy ni cho đi có lòng thu lu cho pin đó mùng có nó mai đi ya pai cho ye pe em body đi ni chi ya đi công phan em su ku hin lu pe mai.
Welcome to Lesson 18 of the Mountain Maidu language class. Today we'll start with the Modern Maidu workbook and then go on to our grammar lesson. Now that you're using your dictionary more to look up words, there are some things you need to know. There is never a one-to-one correspondence between words in one language and words in another language. Every word in every language has various shades of meaning. As you know, the same word in English can have several different meanings. For example, the word play, just as a verb, can mean operate a musical instrument, participate in a game or sport, amuse yourself like a child would do, be performing like the band is playing, pretend to be like I'm not a doctor but I play one on TV. These are just a few basic meanings of the verb play. It's important to know that these same 5 meanings of play in English don't directly translate to the same one word in Maidu. Maidu would use a different word for each of these 5 meanings. We need to be clear not only what word we're translating into Maidu, but the exact shade of meaning we're trying to get across. To understand the right shade of meaning for a word, use it in a sentence and then look for English synonyms that would fit into that same sentence, and then look up the synonym. Sometimes a synonym is actually a phrase instead of one word. Looking at this from the Maidu side, we can see that Maidu also has multiple meanings for a lot of words, and these meanings also don't map to a single English word. For example, the Maidu word for play, like a child would play, is tete. This word is not used for playing instruments or games or performing, but in Maidu this also means hang out, as in just spending time with another person. It would sound strange in English if an adult said, "I'm going to play with my friends tonight," meaning hang out. An English speaker would think you were going to play a sport or some music. Again, Maidu uses solti, cause songs, for play an instrument. But 2 other meanings of solti in Maidu are run a machine and make someone sing. So it would also sound odd if someone said in English, "Can you play the vacuum cleaner?" Or, "I'm going to play you," meaning make you sing. All languages have these multiple meanings and shades of meanings for a large number of words, and there's no one-to-one line between words from one language to another. You can only map one meaning of a word to a word in another language, so always be aware of this. In the Modern Maidu workbook, take a look at the chart on page 21. This is just an example of how one word in English might be expressed by several completely different words in Maidu. On the left side, we see the English word cry. Maidu has a bunch of words that can be translated as cry. Wob or wom refer to shedding tears. Making a crying noise is wak. Calling out or shouting is wo or pelip. Crying because of grieving is lol. One word we use a lot in English is get. We use it for become, like he is getting rich. In Maidu, you would use a doi or beo infix on a verb to express this. We also use the word get to mean take or receive. I'm going to get some food, or how much money did you get? In Maidu, you would use the word meh for this. Also, the word get in English can mean end up somewhere or arrive, like get home. In Maidu, you would use adikno or okit to mean this. Please take a look at the rest of this chart. You can't assume that one word in English is going to have all the same meanings in one Maidu word. When trying to find a word in the Maidu dictionary, be aware of the part of speech. That is the word you're looking for a noun, verb, or adjective? For example, we talked about different meanings of the word play, but what we went over were just the verbs. There's another whole set of meanings for the noun play. So if you're trying to look up a word for a dog's bark, be careful you don't pick the bark of a tree. A Maidu speaker would totally not understand you if you did that. To learn more and make sure you understand, please read pages 22 and 23 in the Modern Maidu workbook and do the exercise on page 23. One more thing from the Modern Maidu book today to be aware of when going from one language to another language is idioms. Idioms are little phrases that we use all the time, but they really don't make any sense if you think about it. You'll be tempted to translate these directly into Maidu, but please don't. Instead, think what that idiom really means and then look up that word. For example, down and out. What does that mean? They don't have any money. When you think about it, down and out really doesn't convey that at all. In Maidu, you would say, liani wiipem, not having money. Don't try to look up words like down and out in Maidu and hope it means the same thing. Another one, call it a day. Let's call it a day. What does that mean? Stop working. Please don't translate the words call it a day into Maidu. A Maidu speaker would have no idea what you were trying to say. Instead, look up stop working in Maidu tawal heket. What do we mean when we say hit the sack? We mean go to bed. Please don't look up and translate into Maidu as hitting a sack. It would make no sense. Instead, look up go to bed. Tuikit. Makika. Make sure you understand this concept. Please read page 24 in the Modern Maidu workbook and do the exercises on page 24 to 25 to really make sure you get it. Now we're going to switch gears and get to our grammar lesson. Today we're going to learn about complex sentences where the main clause has a different subject from one or more of its dependent clauses or bear cubs. The two most common endings to show a change of subject are money and jet. Before we get to the bear cubs, let's look at two important words. To show a change of subject between two sentences, you use that short little verb a, meaning do or say, with either the money or chet ending. A money is translated as then. A chet is translated as meanwhile or however. Let's see how these two words are used because they're very common. Here's an example of a money between two sentences. Maise makoikan amuni kaipe and kas. They left, then we all ate dinner. You can't use a wetin here because the subject changes from maisem, they, to disem, all of us. You would only use a wetin if the subjects of the two sentences were the same. So, repeat. Maisem akoikan amuni kaipe and kas. Now, let's hear a recording. Last time we had this sentence.
Yinodom volek hutelaka. Marin weten maidem pakalkum mas niki tuimat.
What comes after this sentence is
Amani nik maidem hoado kumam nik skal niki tuimat and nikati madam.
It starts out with amuni, meaning then, but more than that, amuni shows that the subject is going to change in the second sentence. Then the man led me up to show me where I would sleep. So the first sentence about walking into the hotel and paying for my room has the subject I. The second sentence with the man leading her up to show her the room has the subject he. Listen to these two sentences to see how a many switches the subject.
Hotel akar. Marian weten Maidu pakalkum mas niki tuimat. Amani nik Maidu hoado kumam nik skal niki tuimat nik jati madam.
So, a muni between two sentences means then and shows a change of subject. A chat between two sentences means meanwhile or however, and also shows a change of subject. Maisa McCoy kan a chat kaipe engas. They went away. Meanwhile, we all ate dinner. With a chat, it's showing a contrast instead of showing one thing happening after another. Makika. Now let's take a look at an example from a Tom Young story. There are three subjects in these few sentences. The first one is a woman, Coyote got pregnant. The second subject is Coyote, and the third subject is they, the people in the roundhouse with Coyote. You know most of these words, so let's see how stories are told in Maidu. I'll leave out the apparentlys when I translate, even though you know the choya ending means we don't know firsthand. Ololok di tuspo tawetin wea choya. Wepam biskade a choya. Amani wepam wewe choya. We cannot mention a choya. A chet. He'e biskananim a choya. Amani wepam manaminki te medatopi. Ololok is the smoke hole. What do you think ololok di tuspotawetin means? After standing at the top of the smoke hole, this is the woman Coyote got pregnant. Ololok di tuspotawetin wea choya. Wepa biskade a choya. What does that mean? After standing at the top of the smoke hole, she spoke. Is Coyote staying there? She said. Amuni. What does this mean? Then. It also means we're switching to a different subject. Amuni wepam wewe choya. We cannot mention a choya. What does this mean? Then Coyote spoke. You will say, absolutely not, he said. We is no. We kana is absolutely not. Coyote turns this into a command, saying, we kanap. Say, absolutely not. We kanap mention means he's talking to two people inside the roundhouse. Achet. He'e biskan unim achoya. Achet means however and shows a different subject from Coyote. Who do you think is talking now? It's the people with Coyote in the roundhouse. Notice that in Maidu, you often have to figure out who's doing the action or talking. Words like achet and amuni help you keep track. Coyote tells all of them to say, absolutely not. But what do they say instead? He'e biskan unim achoya. Yes, he's right here. Yes, this one is staying here. Amuni wepam manaminki te medatopi. We know the subject has changed again because of the amuni. But who is talking now? It's the woman up on top of the smoke hole. And what does she say? Coyote, there's your kid. Take it. Mana means to there. It seems like she's dropping the kid through the smoke hole down to him. Then she says, medatopi. Do you remember this word? Take what is offered, or here you go. Repeat each line after me and see if you can notice each time the subject changes to a different person. Each time there's an amuni or a chet. Ololok di tuspotaweten. Wea choya. Wepam beskade a choya. Amuni wepam we choya. We cannot mention a choya. A chet. He biskan unim a choya. Amuni wepam mana minki te meratopi. Now, just like dom and wetin, the endings mani and chet can go on the end of verbs, turning them into dependent clauses, that is, bear cubs. We know that dom and wetin show the same subject as the main clause, the mama bear. When we picture these, the bear cubs are black like their mother. The muni and chet endings show that the verb they are attached to has a different subject from the main clause, the mama bear. So let's picture these bears as being a different color from their mother, say brown. Both muni and chet can mean when, if, since, because, or while. The muni clause is usually longer lasting, like a background to the main clause. The muni clause and the main clause can be happening at the same time. Chet usually means the action of the chet word is completed before the action of the main clause starts. Besides translating it as when, if, since, or while, it can be translated as although or once, like once he got there, she cooked dinner. The chet word happens first and then the main clause. Now, there are some differences in meanings and usages depending on the verb tense of the main clause, and we'll come back to these details in a future lesson. For today, we're going to just learn the basic uses of the chet and mani endings. The simplest case, which we'll look at first, is the default, where the subject of the dependent clause is the third person. As you remember, third person can be he, she, it, or they. In this case, the mani or chet ending is just added to the verb without adding anything else. Maisim akoimani nisem kaipeyankas. What does that mean? When they left, we all ate dinner. Maisim akoichet nisem kaipeyankas. What does that mean? Once they left, we all ate dinner. With chet, it makes it clear that they left before we started eating dinner. Unidi udiknomani mume makas. What does that mean? When or if he gets here, I will give it to him. Unidi udiknomani mume makas. Listen to Herb Young use muni.
Tummen heki hodong usumani epitomayin kasi.
Kumen is winter. Kumenheki is end of winter. Repeat, kumenheki. Wusu means clear up as the weather. Repeat, wusu. Kodom wusumani means when the weather clears up. Kodom wusumani. Epti means be strong and healthy. With the to infix, eptito, this word seems to mean be ready for it. Be strong and healthy for it. That is, the end of winter. Who is the subject of the main verb? Who is the mama? What is the mama bear? We all, eptito mayankasi, we all will be strong and healthy for it. We will all be ready for it. What's the baby bear, the dependent clause that ends in mani? Wusumani. What is the subject of wusumani? Kodom, the weather or the land. When you switch subjects from kodom, the weather or land, to we all, you have to show the switch, and Herb Young does this with muni. At the end of winter, when the weather clears up, we will all be strong, or we will all be ready for it. Let's listen to it again and repeat.
Tummen heki kodong usumani epitomaying kasi.
Now here's one from Mame Gallagher with muni.
gloomy ianam huobe yapedi tu usayasi.
What is the main verb? Tui usaesi. Who is the subject? We all. You can tell from the usaesi ending. We all used to sleep. What does the whole main clause mean? Inyanam hubolbe yapedi tui usaesi. We all used to sleep in the little Indian house that was built. Hubolbe, little house. Yapedi, in the one that was built. What is the muni dependent clause? Kulumani, when it got dark or when it was night. Words for time of day and weather have a different subject from the rest of the sentence, and, as you know, the subject is kodom. Let's listen again and repeat.
gloomy ianam huobe yapedi tu usayasi.
Now here's one that's a little more complex.
Nikbe kung chui dong pinmen when be kiwi ayora to kumas.
Ka odato. You know what odato means. Meet. Ka shows a sideways motion. Ka odato is to slide over to someone. Kiwi ka odato kumas. Who is the subject? I. We know this from the kumas ending. I slid over to his kiwi. What is that? His back. The dependent clause is nikbekum, tuidom, pinmin mani be. What does that mean? My father, because he was sleeping, since he did not hear then. Now, you might notice there's another level of complexity here, because the dependent clause that ends in mani has a subject, which has an M at the end, but is not the subject of the whole sentence. We know this because none of the verbs have a third person ending. The only verb that shows who did the action has a mas ending, I. This means that I has to be the subject of the whole sentence. But Maidu lets you know who is the subject of the dependent clause, the bear cub, my father. Also adding to the complexity of the dependent clause is that it has its own dome word. Well, I guess we can show this as the bear cub having its own teddy bear. That teddy bear has the same subject as the brown bear cub dependent clause, my father. My father sleeping. Sleeping goes with my father instead of the main clause, mama bear, I. You can translate it just like you've learned for dome clauses. Because he was sleeping, or since he was sleeping. See how that dome clause has the same subject as the bear cub? He. The muni dependent clause is pinmin muni, telling what my father did. And then immediately the subject's going to change after that muni. Pinmin muni, what does that mean? Since or when he did not hear. Pinmen means not hear. What does the whole sentence mean? Since my father was sleeping, when he didn't hear, then I slid over to his back. Let's listen again and repeat.
Long nick bay kung chui dong pinmen when bay kiwi ayora to kumas.
Besides mani, the other subject-changing ending is chet. Remember that in most cases, the chet ending shows that the verb it's attached to has completed before the main clause action starts. Here's one from Mame Gallagher.
Kiwi ni kesho chet bay nuing kwa chu nore kumas bay yamana kit.
Who is the subject of the sentence? I. We know this because of the cum mas ending. What do you think anodoiti cum mas means? If you said start to go or go upwards, you're very close. Don't forget to translate the T infix, that TI, cause to start to go or cause to go upwards. What about the verb with the chet on the end? Eswo. Eswo means go halfway. You might remember that estori means in the middle. Words starting with S have to do with half or middle. Tibi nick eswoye chet. Once he was barely halfway to me. Tibi means small, but can also mean not quite. Repeat, tibi nick eswoye chet. Once he was barely halfway to me. You may have noticed that Mame Gallagher uses the word bay a lot in her stories, meaning just then or right now. This makes a story more exciting. If there's more than one bay with some words in between, it can mean right when or as soon as. So what do you think the whole sentence means?
Kiwi ni kesho chet bay nuing kwa chu nore kumas bay yamana kit.
As soon as he was almost halfway to me, right then I got those two horses started going down the mountain. Here the dome clause goes with the main clause. It has the same subject as the main clause. I was going down the mountain, not the guy who was coming after me. Let's listen again and repeat.
Kiwi ni kesho chet bay nuing kwa chu nore kumas bay yamana kit.
So, what we've learned so far today. A muni and a chat are used to show a different subject in the next sentence. These are used between sentences. A muni and a chat. A muni can be translated as then, and a chat can be translated as meanwhile or however. The muni and chat endings on verbs within a sentence show these verbs have a different subject from the main clause, the mama bear, within the same sentence. They are shown as brown bear cubs. What we've learned so far is the muni and chet endings on a verb are translated as third person subject, he, she, it, or they. Even if the mama bear's subject is third person, the muni and chet bear cubs have a different third person subject. For example, one might be korom and the other might be coyote. If they had the same subject, the cubs would end in wetin, dom, yatan, or wonam. Maidu can make it clearer to you who is doing which action by adding in a subject ending in M, even for the bear cub dependent clause. Remember Nick Bacon? While we have learned that a dome clause is a bear cub dependent on the mama bear, now we've learned that a dome clause in a sentence with muni or chet may actually share the subject with the bear cub instead of the mama. In that case, We show it as a brown teddy bear to go with the brown cup. Now you've learned about the chet and mini bear cub clauses to express a different subject from the main clause, but always a third person subject when it clears up. Once he was halfway to me. When they left. Now we're going to learn how to add a subject to the chet and mini bear cubs when that subject is not a third person. How would you say, when you get here, we'll be home? Aha! We don't know how to say this yet. It's two different subjects, you and we. The bear cub, when you get here, is not third person, he, she, it, or they. It's second person, you. So let's learn how to say this. What you've learned so far is when he or she gets here, third person, you say, unidi adiknomani. To say when you get here is unidi adiknonimani. The subject of a mani or chet clause when it's you is nim, stuck in right before the mani or chet. This is pretty unexpected. Why nim? It's like min spelled backwards. The answer is, I don't know why, but that's how you say it. So, how do you say the whole sentence? When you get here, we'll be home. Unidi adiknonimini habodi ma'ankas for two people, or habodi ma'ankes for more than two. Repeat, when you get here, the two of us will be home. Unidi adiknonimini habodi ma'ankas. Now repeat, for more than two people. Unidi adiknonimini habodi ma'ankes. We will all be home. Let's listen to some native speakers saying the subject you using nim in the mani and chet clause. Here's Dan Williams.
Sirdom säigon munikan yom manak dodom yokatipem yom.
What is the main verb? The main verb is kan with its verb partner banak doidom. Banak means be bright or glow. Repeat, banak. What is the subject of that main verb? Yom, flowers. And yoke chipem yom means flowers that are wearing flowers. Flowers that are wearing flowers are starting to shine or glow. What is the dependent clause ending in mani? Adom usitodom chehehe koi nimani. Chehehe means look all around. And the koi infix adds the meaning of off in the distance. Chehehe koi nimani. When you look all around off in the distance. There's a dom clause too, usitodom. What does that mean? Crossing over. Which subject does this clause belong to? The mama bear clause, flowers, or the dependent bear cub clause, you? It goes with you. When you cross over, after you die, that is, when you look all around and off in the distance, flowers wearing flowers will start to glow. Listen again and repeat after him.
Sirdom säigon munikan yom manak dodom yokatipem yom.
Here's one from the Tom Young stories with nim plus chat. Frog Woman is trying to get past Moon Man who has kidnapped her grandson. Amendo Chinamen nimchet min anoti makas achoya. If you don't do it and if you don't go away, I will swallow you. Amendom, not doing it. I want you to think about which subject this goes with, Frog Woman or you. China means towards somewhere else. You can make it into a verb. Chine up, go somewhere else. Go away. Chine up or Chinapi. Repeat, chine up. Chinamen nimchet, if you don't go away. Repeat, Chinamen nimchet. What will happen if you don't go away? Min unotimakas, I will swallow you. You might recognize the verb uno with two n's, go down in. Add the t infix, cause to go down in, and that means swallow. Repeat, unoti. This is Frog Woman talking to the moon. Because he didn't get out of the way, she is constantly swallowing him, causing the phases of the moon. One more thing, amendum, not doing. Does this clause go with Frog Woman, I, or does it go with Moon Man, you? It goes with Moon Man, you. Let's repeat the whole sentence. If you don't do it and if you don't go away, I will swallow you. Amendom Chinamen nimchet min unotimakas achoya. So now, how would you say, if you cook acorns, I will eat? Use homti for cook, means cause to boil, like you would cook acorns. If you cook acorns, I will eat. Hamsi homtinimani pemakas. If you cook acorns, I will eat them. How would you say, once you cook acorns, or after you cook acorns, I will eat? Hamsi homtinim chet pemakas. See the difference in meaning between chet and mani? Now that we've learned to say if you and when you with a different subject in the main clause, let's learn how to say if I or when I with a different subject in the main clause. Let's say, when I talk, you will listen. Weyes mani pinbankano. Notice we just stuck an S, just the letter S in before the mani, and used the vowel that was already there in weye, weyes mani. Now, what if the verb was ano instead of weye? How would you say, if I go, you will stay? Unosmani bismaankano. We just added the letter S after the O that was already on the end of ano. What about adikno? When I arrive, or when I get there, meet me outside. Adiknosmani nik odato puedi. What if the verb does not end in a vowel? Then you add is to show the I subject. For example, soul, sing, ends in a consonant. Soul ismani is how you would say when I sing. Soul ismani. Likewise, if a verb ends in a long A sound, like Yahweh, you will also add is after the A sound. Yahweh ismani, when I come back. Repeat, Yahweh ismani. Now listen to Mame Gallagher saying when I with a different subject from the main clause.
Tebe ismani kaniki wolem mubekum tetetom yawikum hubona min woyoko makasakumam.
What is the main verb? Akum ma'am, he said. Akum ma'am niki, he said to me. Who is he? Niki wolem mabekam, my white father. Now, here's a new word, woyopai, send off to. Repeat, woyopai. What did he say? What did her father say that's in quotes? Tetetom yawikum habona min woyopai makas. To a bigger school I will send you. Repeat, tetetom yawikum habona min woyopai makas. Kaniki wolam mabekam. Tetetum yawikum habona min woyopai makas akum mam niki. At last, my white father said to me, I will send you to a bigger school. That's the main clause. What is the bear cub mini clause? Tetebe ismani. When I got bigger. Tete is big. Tetebe is get bigger. Repeat, tetebe. Tetebe ismani. Do you hear that is before the mani? That's the I subject. Tetebe ismani kaniki wolam mabekam. Tetetem yawikum habonam min woyopai makas. Akumam niki. When I got bigger, at last my white father said to me, I'm going to send you off to a bigger school. Listen again and repeat.
Tebe ismani kaniki wolem mubekum tetetom yawikum hubona min woyoko makasakumam.
Now, I've given you examples of the subject I with money, but have not given you any with chat yet. We don't have any good examples in the recordings. With the subject I, chat changes to set or is set. Here's an example from the Tom Young stories. Amari okit meneset, toti men pada minsum. If I don't come back from there, you all be strong. First, the main clause. What's the main verb and its subject? Toti men pada. This is a command. Remember the command where you tell someone what to do when you're not around? So the subject is you. Toti means be weak. Repeat, toti. Toti men is used a lot in commands in the old stories and means don't be weak or be strong, be brave. It's what you say to people to urge them to keep trying, hang in there. Repeat, toti men para. Now let's look at the bear cub that ends in is set. This is really is, the subject I, with the chet ending. Amari okit meneset. What does it mean? If I don't come back from that place, okitmen, not come back or not come home. Okitmen. If I don't come back from that place, you all be strong without me, is what he's really saying. I'll say the whole sentence again, and please repeat after me. Amari okitmeneset, toti men para minsum. So now you've learned the most common subjects for chet and mani clauses, you and I, as well as the third person, which doesn't insert anything before the ending. But what about we? To make the subject of the chet or mani clause, we too, add has or as before the chet or mani. To make the subject we more than two, add hes or s before the chet or mani. Listen to Mame Gallagher say, when we two went up a big mountain. Compare that to when I went up, adoi nos mani. Let's review complex sentences. How would you say, if you want to eat, go ahead and eat? Peyahadom pemaankano. We learned this 2 lessons ago. Both clauses have the same subject, so use don't. Using homti for cook, how would you say, if he wants to eat, I will cook? Peyahamani homti makas. There are different subjects, and the mani has a third person subject, so you don't add anything in. Peyahamani. How would you say, if they want to work, make them work? Tawal yahamani, tawalti maankano. Notice I use the tawalti, make somebody work. You could add maisim to the mani clause to show they instead of he. Maisim tawal yahamani, tawalti maankano. How would you say, after you finish work, come home? Tawalboswetin habodi yep. Same subject. They both clauses have you. So you use wetin for after or when. Tawalboswetin habodi yep. How would you say, if you want to go, we'll all go tomorrow? Akoy yahanimani benekto akoy mainkasi. Different subjects with you, nim, in the mani clause. Akoy yahanimani benekto akoy mainkasi. How would you say, if you don't tell me, I'll leave? Nikweyamen nimini akoy makas. Or you could use a verb like kai for tell. Nikkaimen nimini akoy makas. Kaimen nimini. If you don't tell. Now, I know these last 3 lessons have been challenging and maybe tedious. Don't worry if you feel like you don't quite get it. I'm not sure I've even explained it very well. But we're going to be running into complex sentences from now on whenever we listen to the recordings and when we start reading the Tom Young stories. So we'll keep going over it and you will pick it up. One thing you can be proud of if you understand what we've learned so far, in some ways you've surpassed William Shipley and Rowan Dixon in their understanding of Maidu grammar. Next time, we'll finally start inventing new Maidu words and also listen to our first full recording of an entire story from a native speaker, and you'll be able to understand most of it. I will post some homework on our Facebook page for you. The more you practice, the better you'll get the hang of these topics. Yahat bispada, chamakasmin.